Welcome to a new episode of the Guru's Perspective, and I am your host, the Guru himself. Wanted to give you some news and kind of talk a little stats, do the sports thing that I love to do for you guys, and I appreciate all the love and support, the people who chime in, the people who hit me up in the comments and always asking questions, man. Most times I'm not trying to sound like I'm arrogant, but a lot of the news sources and the things that I get for you guys are pretty accurate. A lot of times, whenever there's smoke, that means it was fire to ignite that smoke. And I want to start off with saying a couple of things that happen around the league of the NFL. I just want to get into it briefly. Yes, the news of David Montgomery, we heard that over the weekend. Jeremy Fowler was one of the people who I heard the information from, to saying that he wanted out of Detroit. And you've been hearing the rumblings. I understand that too. And I feel like at this point, Brad Holmes definitely made it clear that he wanted to move on or figure out something at some point with David Montgomery financially, because now we're still over the salary cap and we need to get under as far as coming into this new season. That all starts on March the 9th. So from March the 9th through 11th, you're going to see the legal tampering period where some of the teams and the players will get together and you'll find new, some of your favorite NFL players on different teams coming into this free agency. And right now, what I'm saying is we're definitely over the cap, but we're trying to get under to better our team. We got a lot of holes to fill on offense and defense. I mean, you kept hearing things come up with Brad Holmes. Like whenever he talked, my nephew was talking to me about this, and I've noticed that myself. Whenever you heard him talk about David Montgomery, his demeanor is not like how I'm looking at you guys in the camera. It was like this. His head was always down. Or when they talk about David Montgomery, he's here, or he's here, or he's here with it. He never was looking at the camera and straight up saying, hey, David Montgomery is our guy. We love David. We want to keep them together, him and Jahmyr Gibbs, aka Sonic and Knuckles. That never was the case. We already looked at it like he might be salary cap tragedy, with him, and trading him, it was like 6 million off the books. And I believe it's 5.3 million off the books, with the release of Grant Glasgow. So yes, they're starting to make moves, but then at the same time, we're still over the cap. I figure they're going to make a move with Jared Goff or either Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson. Somebody's going to have to free up some cap space for them to make moves. And I'm pretty interested in seeing what they're going to do next week, Monday. Like I said, it's going to be from March the 9th to the 11th, and that's going to be the legal and tampering period where they can start making moves and acquiring players and having them on the team for the league season year on March the 12th. Okay, with that being said, David Montgomery was traded to the Houston Texans for a fourth or seventh and guard Juice Scruggs. A lot of people looked at that. Some were disappointed. Yes, I was a little disappointed because I definitely love David Montgomery, his style of running, and just what he brought to the Detroit Lions. But I was surprised we got that much for him, fourth, seventh, and we had a player and a young guard. We know the Texans are already struggling as far as protection with CJ Stroud, but to give us one of the acquisitions who was a guard, I was actually okay with that. Still a little hurt because, we all love David, but at the same time, we had this thing before with Jamal, Williams at the time. We really wanted him to come back. We gave him a deal that we thought that was fair on the market, and he thought that he could go out and do better. And after that, not only did he go to the New Orleans Saints, he was buried in, that offense, and you barely heard from him again. I don't even know what's going on with Jamal Williams right now. Is he even still playing in the NFL? But let me move on now, and I want to talk about some things too, especially when I'm talking now. I want to just focus on basketball right now, especially college and the NBA, because a lot of good things has been happening as of late. And I want to start off and I want to get close into the tournament. This is going to be a wild year in the tournament, not because we all love the March Madness tournament, but it's going to be on March the 17th. And if a lot of you guys don't know, March the 17th is officially St. Patrick's Day. So it's going to be wild out there. The campuses or wherever it's going to be at, I just want you guys to drink and be safe if you do drink, and just be careful, man, because I know it's going to be a lot of parties and things going on at this time. Just be safe when you drink out there and have a good time and enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. I'm gonna be enjoying that tournament, and I'm definitely gonna be loving that. I'm excited. It's the best time of year for me. You got the free agency, you have March Madness, and then you have things going on as far as getting ready for the NFL. As far as the free agency is going to be crazy. But then you're going to have the NBA trying to get themselves together and get in the playoff zone because April is their playoff. So there's going to be a lot of things going on, pretty interesting things. And don't forget, too, at the very end of March, don't get it twisted, you guys, is going to be opening day for MLB. Love me some baseball. A lot of people are not really into baseball like that, but I know this is my favorite time of year. I've been looking at a lot of spring training too, as well, seeing who these young acquisitions are and the players on the teams. But I want to start off with saying, since we're in the March Madness season, I know right now in the women's, UConn is for sure the unanimous number one team. South Carolina, and then you're going to have UCLA and Texas join them. I believe those are going to be the projected number one overall seeds. Well, of course, UConn is, but the other number one seeds will be Texas, UCLA, and South Carolina. I definitely believe that's going to be the projection once they come out and they talk about the brackets on March the 15th. And on the men's side of the bracket, of course, Duke will be number one, Michigan, Arizona, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say UConn is going to be the last number one when it comes to the men's side of the bracket. Just really been enjoying a lot of the stuff that's been going on right now in college, and I just been watching a lot more basketball than lately, which is surprising because I still be like in an NFL shock after this time trying to regain or get myself together. This year I was more fast, and I was thinking right after the Super Bowl I was really over NFL, and I know a lot of people are going to be shocked to hear me say that, but it was true. I want to get into some stats too that happened. I want you guys to check out. Donovan Dent of UCLA is the only Division One player in the last 30 seasons to have 40 plus points, 20 plus assists, and zero turnovers over a 2 game span. I feel like UCLA hasn't really been on the map that much as far as the men. The women are taking over with Lauren Bess and Kiki Rice and a lot of the good plays and just the players they have over there. The hell of a coach, but it's good to see the men are trying to get involved. But it's been a lot more heavy with the women's with me as far as the stats and a lot of the players and personnel. I know some guys on the men's side of the bracket, but the women's have been pretty excited, and I like to thank former players like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark for getting this to the point to where it is right now. In the 6 games this month, AJ Debansa of BYU was averaging 30.7 points, 7.8 rebounds, 5.7 assists per game. No other Division One player has did such average in those 3 categories over 6 game span or over the last 30 seasons. So yeah, AJ Debanska definitely looking like he's going to be the number one overall pick. No disrespect to Darren Peterson, but I just feel like the games that he's played and how consistent he's been is the reason why he's my number one guy right now. Entering February 26th, UConn's women basketball team has won 17 straight home games by at least 30 points. That is the longest streak in a home wins with 30 points by a Division One men or women team, NBA or WNBA this century. Next closest was the 13 straight wins by, you guess it, the Lady Huskies again, UConn, February 2014 through February 2015. On February 28th against number 20 Arkansas, Florida Gators men scored 110 plus points, shot 55% from the field, shot 40% from three, and won by 30 points. And the final score was 111 to 77. The only other team that ever do that against an AP ranked opponent was Loyola Marymount in their 149-115 win over the Michigan Wolverines, unfortunately, in 1990 NCAA tournament. St. John's is the only Division One team this century to shoot under 20% and lose by 30 plus points one game, but then shoot 50% or better and win by 30 plus points the next game. Over the last 8 games, I like to give shouts out to Vandy on this too as well. Michaela Blakes of Vandy women's basketball has averaged 33.3 points a game, 50.9% shooting from the field. The other women's Division One player in the last 10 years to average 33 and 50% shooting over an 8 game span are Caitlin Clark in 2023, 2024, and my homegirl, Kelsey Plum in 2016, 2017. So yeah, big ups to that right there. I just feel like I want to get some of this college stuff, out of me. And I was just really surprised too, seeing some of the games on Sunday when it comes to the NBA too. It was a little disappointing in some games. I was definitely happy with my Pistons, but they got their hands full tonight. I really want to see the rematch. I'm hoping to see right now, and I'll be giving my predictions for those games. I want to see James Harden and Donovan Mitchell play when they play this time. They're going to be at home, and we're going to be playing them tonight. They played pretty good on Sunday. They were down 7 at the half. It ended up winning that game. It was 106-92 against Orlando Magic. But the game that caused me a little concern, and a lot of people saying they're not concerned about this game, but it definitely was a head scratcher because I feel like they met us when it came to the physicality, the San Antonio Spurs, when they beat us recently. But I just don't feel like that same energy was there when they played the New York Knicks. That's why I feel like Jose Alvarado is one of the better players that was acquired over the period when they was getting people in the trade deadline. When you get guys like him, you're going to have a motor type guy who's going to go, every game. He's going to go 100. He like the Tasmanian devil. That's what I call him. But it just wasn't him. It was just a whole team effort. And I just didn't feel like that same energy was there with San Antonio. I don't know, maybe they were tired or maybe they wasn't. But the thing to me was they had basically all their starters in and didn't play well with San Antonio. Victor Wembanyama was going to do what Victor Wembanyama do. He had 25 points and he had 13 rebounds. But the person who really stepped up their game was Carl Bridges. McCall Bridges had 25 points. Carl Anthony Towns had 14 rebounds in that game. But the shocker to me, like I said, was they got blew out and they got beat pretty bad. If I'm not mistaken, I think they lost like by 25 points in that game too. It was 114-89, and I just didn't think the San Antonio Spurs would go out like that, but they exactly did on that day. I sat up and watched the game that was a little head scratching to me too, but it was a really good game. Was with the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Denver Nuggets. That was a really good game too. I feel like if Nikola Jokic is not playing at a high caliber and Jamal Murray shots are not dropping, this team is going to be in trouble. No disrespect. They have Tim Hardaway Jr., they have Bruce Brown, and they have a lot of good guys on the bench, but I still don't feel like they're getting enough from these guys, and that's just my opinion. I just don't really feel like they was doing what you would expect the Denver Nugget team to do now, who has more depth. And what I've seen in that game was not too good for me. Was whenever Nikola Jokic rests in the second quarter, everybody be ready for him to rest, and then they'll go on the run. And then at the beginning of the fourth quarter, by that time, they'll be down by so many points that it's hard for them to get back in the game. And like I said, Nikola Jokic was one shy from a triple double. He had 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists. But Anthony Edwards, he didn't play as well. He was 9 for 19 and, field goals. He had 21 points. But Rudy Gobert had 10 rebounds. He had 10 offensive rebounds and 5 defensive rebounds in that game. And that final score was 117-108. I think as long as Ant play good and Rudy Gobert can block shots and grab rebounds and score when they need him to, he don't need to be a scoring machine, or he don't need to match point for point with Anthony Edwards, but just him to just be there and be a presence, a physical presence, that this team could shock a lot of teams in the West. What I was surprised with too was Nas Reed, man, he got off in that game. He really looked good. He felt like he belonged. But the disappointment with me is I still feel like that trade when they got Cameron Johnson, I thought that it'd be a breath of fresh air for them with Michael Porter Jr., but I just don't feel like they did anything as far as when it comes to the Denver Nuggets, because even though Brooklyn Nets is not that great of a team, he shows up every night. I can't say the same thing about Cameron Johnson. He couldn't even make a basket if his life depended on it. I'm not saying that he's a quitter or he gives up or he's not a good player. You know, we know some players just give up and, they scared to shoot the basket. I'm not going to say no names out here, but I just still feel like at this point, he didn't give up, but he still looked really bad. Like, man, if you can't score, man, just get a ball to somebody else. He just looked really bad. And I was disappointed because I felt like this would be a good move for him to go over there with Denver, a team that's used to winning and having a winning culture. But it didn't click with him yet. So I'm just starting to feel like that was the worst end of the deal, getting Cameron Johnson. But that final score was 117 to 108. It was a really good game. Good effort by, the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. Boston Celtics been playing at a high level. I've been really surprised at how well and consistent they've been playing too. I shouldn't be surprised because when you got a guy over there like Jalen Brown, man, I just feel like he stepped up his game for the whole team. But it wasn't really Jalen Brown's day. It was Nimius Quinta. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He had 27 points, 17 rebounds in that game. And Tyrese Maxey is Tyrese Maxey. I feel like he's one of the top five all day right now in the league. He had 33 points, and Andre Drummond had 12 rebounds in that game. That final score, though, was a little lopsided. It was 114 to 98, and the Boston Celtics ended up winning that game convincingly. And Peyton Pritchard has been one of the guys who I've been looking out for, man. He's been playing and he's stepped up in that role. You need a Robin to that Batman. Jalen Brown is the Batman over there, but to see Peyton Pritchard and how he's stepping up in his role, I really am interested to see how things is going to gel when Jason Tatum come back, and are they going to keep Nikola Vucevic or Vucevic? I want to get into some of the matchup that's going to happen today, but then I want to talk about some things to give people their flowers as well in the NBA. Kevin Durant is the first player in the NBA history to score 40 plus points in a regular season game for five different franchises. Yes, you hear me correctly. He had 40 plus points for the Seattle Supersonics. Man, I wish they bring the team back to Seattle. OKC Thunder, the Golden State Warriors, the Brooklyn Nets, Phoenix Suns, and of course, the Houston Rockets. I want to talk about the Detroit Pistons a little bit too before I make my predictions in today's games. 2023, 2024, the Detroit Pistons had the worst record in NBA. 2025, 2026, of course, they have the best record in the NBA as of right now today. They would be the first MLB, NBA, NFL, or NHL team to go from the worst record to the best in 2 seasons or less since the Braves in 1990 and 1992. Atlanta wouldn't miss the playoffs again until 2006. So let's just hope that that be something that we can, live on and be proud of with the Detroit Pistons, how bad they were and how big of a joke the Detroit Pistons was at one point and to how good they are now. Let's just hope that they can continue to make playoff runs. I would love to see a championship back here with the Pistons. We won, back to back. 88, 89, and we won in 2004. I wouldn't definitely be opposed to us getting another championship here. That will always be great. The only NBA team to ever go from worst record to the best in 2 seasons or less was the Baltimore Bullets, who had the worst record in 1966 and 1967. They were 20 and 61, and then they had the best in 2 seasons later in 1968, 1969, with 57 and 25 victories. And the man with the master plan right now, and he's basically the guy. If you cut the head off of, our guy right now, or if you cut the head off the snake, you can beat us, basically, is Cade Cunningham. Over the last 5 games, he's averaging 58 assists. He made 19 3-pointers, 10 steals, and 12 blocks. He is the first player in NBA history to have a 5 game span with at least 50 assists, 15 3-pointers made, 10 steals, and 10 blocks. So that's one of the things that I like. And basically, with JB Bickerstaff as our coach too is the fact that he's teaching defense, man. A lot of people didn't like when Mike Brown did the same thing. He was a really good coach. We wanted more offense because we had the players to do it. But when they was keeping teams under 73 points and locking teams down, that's the grit that I see from this new team right here. And the defense is good, man. Isaiah Stewart will be back tonight, so I'm happy about that. But then you got Jalen Durham is playing on a high level. It's just Kate Cunningham plays defense. Our whole team, man, and we had one of the Thompson brothers on our team too. Amen. And he's definitely a defensive guy. He's defense first. So I'm just glad with the good defense that we have and the hunger this team has and the energy that they bring to Detroit as well. The Spurs in February, they're the first team in NBA history to go undefeated in a month while scoring 110 plus points in every game, minimum 10 games. The last player who reached that, or the last team to reach that, was the Golden State Warriors, when they had their good championship run. The last player to reach the Victor Wembanyama total of 45 games and what he had, the acolytes that he had, which is really insane. 1,000 points, 125 blocks, 500 rebounds in that 45 game span is no other than his teammate, not the Admiral, but former teammate Tim Duncan. So I think they have something there in San Antonio, despite that 25-point loss to the Knicks on Sunday. I still feel like that team has a lot of energy. They're a good team. They're a good young team. That's what makes them so great. When De'Aaron Fox went over there, I said this team's going to be special. But then you got Stephon Castle and Devin Vassell. Those names got me so mixed up at first because they both got braids. But now that I'm starting to watch more and see more of their games on the market, especially because of Victor Wembanyama and what he brings to the table, I feel like the Spurs is going to be a hard team to beat in the West. And that's the only team who I feel like would definitely be a threat to the OKC Thunder. That's my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if they can pull it off and win and go all the way. That's just me, but I'm just saying. I want to talk about the games today and give my predictions too. The games are not really that great. You're going to have okay games, but most of them is not really to talk about. I think the main attraction of tonight is the Pistons and Cavaliers. And that's the first game that I will definitely talk about. You have the Pistons going to Cleveland. They have the Pistons as a 2.5 point favorite. I'll go with my team on the road. It's going to be a hella contested contest, but I'll definitely go with the Pistons. I'll take the Pistons. The Mavericks and the Hornets. Actually, this is not going to be as bad as a game as people think because the Hornets is like only one game under 500 and they've been playing pretty decent. I just don't think the Mavs will do enough to be able to keep up with this team, this young, good Hornets team. And then my boy Kobe White over there, too. So, yeah, I'm going to give the edge. I'm going to give a big edge. I'm going to go 13 and a half on this one. And I'm going to go with the Mavs. The Hornets. I'm sorry. The Wizards and Magic, the Magic 15 and a half, easy. Any given day, but still, I just don't think it's really a lot of good games tonight. The Nets and the Heat, I'm going to go with the Miami Heat, 13 and a half. Now, this is going to be a pretty decent game, interesting enough. The Knicks and the Raptors, I'm going to go with the Raptors in the upset. I'll take them and I'll get them to 2.5 points. Now, the Spurs and the 76ers is going to be a good game, better than what a lot of people would give credit. But I'm going to go under the 8.5 for San Antonio. I think it's going to be a closer game than people expect. OKC versus the Bulls. I'm gonna go with OKC on the road, but then I'm gonna go under the 10.5 though. I think that's gonna be a close contest too, because I feel like OKC is gonna blow them out at one point, and then they're gonna probably rush prayers in the fourth quarter, and it's gonna look like it's closer than what it should be. The Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. At first, with the players and everybody that they had before in the past, I thought that this would be a good matchup, but no, it won't be. I'll give the 14.5 point favor with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Pelicans and Lakers, I'm going Lakers 8.5. And the late game on Peacock and NBC is the Suns and the Kings. I'll give the Suns a 9.5 point favor because I don't think it's going to be a close game as well. But I definitely wanted to kind of feature in my Detroit Pistons, and hopefully they do well on the road. They already won, but the difference is I want to see them win, with the best players in, which is Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. They barely won in a close one without those two guys. I want to see what they can do with those guys in the game. And I would like to say thank you, everybody who chimes in to listen to the show. I mean, I appreciate everybody hitting me up in the comments. Click my links, like and subscribe. I appreciate that too. I've been working hard, me and my homeboy E-Buck, trying to get everything together and get our page together and, continue to focus on our brand. And at this note, I want to show you my social media websites where you can catch me at. You can catch me at Hoovy on Instagram, right here, WHOOVI, where I put a lot of our product and focus on our brand. Sports Guru to You is going to be very busy from March the 9th to the 11th. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on in the NFL, free agency. And Hugh.Lee6 is my TikTok where I put a lot of stuff as far as the breaking news and highlight reels as well. I would like to say thank you all. Shouts out to the Nighthawk Network and everybody who listened to my show, from my sister, my brother, and, basically family and friends. I would like to say I appreciate all you guys as well. There's so many of you out there, Steve and my homeboy Mo for making this possible. My homegirl Nicole Hambrick too, for all of those guys were saying, yeah, you talk sports a little too much. You need to put it in there, and you need to do something, put it on paper, or, basically get you a show. Most of them was, thinking of the podcast and telling me to do a podcast before I even had the guts or even had the heart to be able to get up here and talk to you guys about it. I would like to say you guys be blessed, stay safe, and don't stress. Let the Lord handle the rest. And on that note, I would like to say peace. And I will see you guys possibly next week. I'm still debating because it depends on that free agency and depends on how busy that day be. I might just take that day off, but stay tuned. I will keep you posted. Until then, later.